All right. Come on in. Welcome to the Geese Online Masters in Accounting iMSA webinar. I want to give probably about 30 more seconds, make sure that everyone can get in and get ready to listen and learn and ask questions. And so we'll get started here in a few seconds. All right. My name is Marcus Phillips. Just want to welcome you to our Geese Online Masters in Accounting iMSA webinar. There's a QR code on the screen. If you have questions, scan this code to connect with our team. We are happy that you are joining us. We are looking forward to conversation. So if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions. I am joined by two fabulous people. I'm excited to be a part of this webinar with me. And then we'll get some introductions. I'll have them introduce themselves here shortly. So we have a nice little team here to prepare some questions for you, to answer questions from you, just to provide some general information about the iMSA program. So again, we are excited that you're here. We love to see where people are chiming in from. So there is a QR code on the screen, or you can join by the web. Just let us know where you're coming from. We love to see where folks are chiming in from. For all of our three online degree programs, our online portfolio, we have over 150 countries represented. So we do have a global community. So just let us know where you're chiming in from. We'd love to see that. Hello from Chicago. I was just there last night, actually, for a meetup. So we'll talk a little bit about networking with students. It was an in-person meetup, and so I think that's one of our benefits of our program. So thank you for bringing the brave soul of answering the first poll question. But we're going to go ahead and move along, and so we'll see where folks are coming from. Let's see, because we have Chicago. Awesome. Alrighty. So on the agenda today, I'm going to do a little welcome and introductions. We'll touch on University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, which is a flagship campus. We'll also discuss the Gies College of Business. And then we'll talk a little bit about Gies Business Online. We'll provide a program overview of the iMSA, including the curriculum as well as the content. And then I'll touch a little bit on the application tips and tricks. And so, of course, why I choose University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. We are the flagship campus, as I mentioned earlier, but more importantly, we are our land grant institution. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to work for UIUC, was the fact that a land grant institution, the mission is really providing accessible education for our students. And we believe that our online graduate degrees and certificates provides access to students who otherwise would not have been able to join the program. So it's a very reputable institution, as you can see with the rankings there on the screen. Number one most disability-friendly campus in the U.S., and we have a very large alumni network. But another reason is because I have some fabulous team members and fabulous students that are part of our program. So Brandy, if you want to introduce yourself and just let folks know where you're chiming in from, how far along are you in the program, anything else you wanted to add about yourself.
Sure. So hello everyone. My name is Brandy Smith. I am a first year iMSA graduate student. Actually just started spring 2024 in the iMSA program. And I am in Atlanta, Georgia. So
I didn't realize you were in Atlanta, Georgia. Awesome. I lived there for 6 years. So that's good to know. And then we have Susan that is helping us, and she's the one is going to be the one that's going to answer questions in the Q&A. So if you do have questions, make sure you go to the Q&A and ask those questions. I know sometimes you may put them in the chat. Susan, if you feel comfortable introducing yourself, feel free to get on the camera and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan. I've been working on the admissions as an admissions counselor now for a year and a half. with this Gies College of Business. When you start applications, you'll probably hear from me quite a bit. So looking forward to helping you.
Thank you, Susan. Like I said, we have an awesome staff here. Susan is one of many staff members in the admissions office, and then we have some wonderful learners as well. So Brandy will share some of her experience with the iMSA program. So thank you so much, ladies. And so why choose Gies College of Business? I think number one, it goes back to, like I said, the land grant institution. So we still follow that mission as a college of business. And part of that is the price point, and I'll touch on the price point here later. But, when you think about reputation, you think about high quality education. Gies' name is mentioned, up there, with some really, really strong, reputable schools. And so, in fact, our accounting faculty are among the best accounting faculty that's out there. And so we are happy to have high quality faculty that really care. I spoke to one of our students yesterday, actually one of our alumni at our meetup last night in Chicago. And one thing that he pointed out to me that I really didn't think too much of, because I work with faculty, I work with staff on a daily basis, and I know people are pretty down to earth, pretty genuine. And he told me, he said, Marcus, he said, with your faculty having a strong reputation and being highly ranked, I automatically would have thought that they wouldn't be engaging, would kind of be on like more their high horse. And he said that's one thing that he felt that was different about our program compared to some other programs that were highly ranked, is our faculty seemed to care. They really wanted to have conversation with you. They really wanted to get to know you, as a person or what have you. And they really want to engage like our learners in the classroom. And so that's something that you don't always hear when you think about, departments or colleges of business that are highly ranked. Another big reason is our innovation. Obviously, we were, as you see on the screen, the #1 business school of the decade. And that was led by our dean, Jeff Brown, who is actually on the screen. And so it's been awesome that he's been able to have this kind of creative energy, innovative energy within our business school, which can be a little challenging in a public institution, right? And so he was able to provide, that space for our faculty and staff to be innovative and just all different ways. And I'll touch a little bit on the curriculum and the networking opportunities where that innovation came out of. And again, we have a very strong alumni base as well. So not only within the university, but within the College of Business. And I have a little lapel pin, and I pretty much wear this everywhere I go if I'm on business. And every airport I've been to, someone will yell out IL and I yell out INI. And so it's pretty cool that we're able to make that connection all over. So Brandy, so I'm sure you looked at maybe other programs. Like, what made you choose the iMSA program?
Sure, Marcus. So you touched on a lot of those points. The highly ranked faculty. I am also a two-time, this will be my second time being a student at U of I. I was just telling Susan that I actually finished up my PhD at U of I in 2021. And so when I was there as a doctoral student, I would hear a lot about Gies and the research that was going on. And I used to think to myself, I didn't realize that, people in the business world did research as well in terms of like academic research. And so just knowing all those things about the college and seeing how high up it's ranked compared to other businesses, college of businesses, I'm sorry, across other academic universities was one of the main reasons, driving forces for me wanting to apply to Gies. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's really good to hear, and glad that you continue your education here at Illinois. So appreciate that. Now, I know sometimes there's always questions that I get these questions a lot about, man, I don't know if I'm going to pursue my graduate education. It can be various reasons why. And so feel free to, let us know like what has been holding you back from pursuing that graduate education. Has it been cost? Cost is typically a big one. Is an online format. I know some people have a perception of online format Is it time commitment? That's always a concern, especially for working business professionals. Is it return on investment, right? Am I going to get out what I'm paying for this degree? There's some concern about difficulty. I've been out of school for X amount of years, concerned about that, or it can be some other reasons as well. And so I see time commitment and other are two of the popular ones that are listed now. So, but yeah, so we will kind of go through those areas. And so Geese Online, there's three pillars I like to kind of just briefly mention when it comes to Geese Online programs. And actually, I'm going to start with online by design first. And so in 2016, we actually started the IMBA program. And so reason why I wanted to kind of make that point is we already started the groundwork, had an entire program online prior to the pandemic. And so the infrastructure was, by the time the pandemic came around, the infrastructure was already in place with this particular program. And so when iMSA came around, um, in terms of the technology, infrastructure was already all in place. All we had to do was really just provide like the content, right? And so it wasn't a program where, oh my gosh, a pandemic happened. Let's just throw it on here. We don't have any tech support. Just slap it together, right? And so we have over 200 staff in our teaching and learning department. In our IT department that is supporting right our online programs to make sure it continues to be a high quality program. So I wanted to point that out. The flexibility. Is big for our program. And I know here eventually I'll let Brandy talk about, maybe some of the ways that she feel like the program is very flexible. But we wanted to make sure that this program was kind of geared towards working professionals, and people, and it can also be flexible for people who may have other commitments. They may have children, they may have maybe a caring for an elderly parent or what have you, right? And so we wanted to make sure it's a flexible program. And then the stackability of our program. So if students complete the IMSA program, then they're able to stack it into the IMBA if they choose. And so here's a little graph of our stackable build, and right. And so we try to we try to reach learners where they are in their educational journey. So for some students, some students may feel like I am a little nervous about school. It's been a while. And so we partner with Coursera, who use their online platform for our coursework. So some students will start off just taking a free online course, which we call it. These are MOOCs, or massive open online courses. And these are non-credit courses, but it's kind of just gets you kind of in the mood of, okay, let me get kind of back into learning and studying and so forth. But then you can pair it with the high engagement component, which is offered through the University of Illinois, and that will create a 4 credit course, right? And you can take that 4 credit course and you can stack it into a graduate certificate. So when I mean stacking, meaning the credit that you earn from that course, that credit will go towards that certificate, or you can apply it towards a degree. Okay. And so we feel like that's just kind of like an innovation, because a lot of times you may take a course at an institution, and that course may not even transfer into a program within that institution, right? And so we want to make sure that our business courses that our students are taking through Illinois, that they are getting credit. So it saves time and money as well. And then some students may come in and say, hey, you know what, I really just only have time for a grad certificate. And so they may start there, but then the credits that they earn in that graduate certificate, they can apply it to their grad degree program. And again, like I mentioned, the IMSA and the IMSM degrees, you can stack, if you complete those degrees, you can stack it into the IMBA program. So just wanted to kind of share that as well. Just quickly, I want to just touch on grad certificates. And so there's a lot out in the marketplace now with certificates, and a lot of those, or some are not credit certificates, right? And so I wanted to make sure that you all understand that certificates that we offer, they are transcripted credit. And these courses, are part of the University of Illinois educational portfolio. And so there's, like I said, there's stackable into the I degree, or if you just want to get your certificate and you're finished, that's totally fine as well. And as you see on the screen, there's a list of our certificates. Typically for folks who are interested in the iMSA, sometimes we may have folks that say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do the accounting data analytics, which has become pretty popular, obviously, in that field. CPA pathways, and then we have accounting foundations. Typically, accounting foundations is more for those students who just really want the foundational coursework in accounting, and the CPA pathways is more so for seasoned accountants, right? And they just want to kind of just take some more advanced coursework. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Here's some quick facts about the iMSA program. As you can see, that the total cost is under 30,000, right, for this program. And with our program being one of the top ranked accounting programs in the country, it's a real value there. And so this includes our tuition and fees. Brandy, just really quick, have you had to pay for any textbooks in your first courses?
I have had to buy a couple of textbooks, yes.
Okay. What was the cost of those textbooks? The
Um,
approximate.
for my accounting analysis class, it was probably around between $100 and $200.
Okay.
But that was with a discount. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Good. So it wasn't too expensive. Okay. And so also with the program, it take 18 months to completion, right? Sorry about that. And so the flexibility part comes in where you have a max of 5 years to complete the program, right? And so we have had students start the program and life happens, stuff comes up, right? And where you have to maybe take an 8-week off to handle whatever the crisis or whatever situation happened. And so we give students a max of 5 years to complete the program. Typically, I would say 2.5 years is kind of like the average time that it takes for students to complete the program. Again, it's really based on the individual student, really to fit your schedule and your needs. Also, the flexibility comes in with 3 start dates, as you can see, January, May, and August. So we try to provide, three intake dates for the program. And so here's kind of like some more numbers in terms of age, years of work experience, representation in the U.S. and different countries, and the reputation of Fortune 500 companies. And I also want to point out we have small business owners. So we have a range of folks in our program. And so that's the beauty of our program, just the diverse set of learners that we do have in our program. I think is good. And then Brandy, like what type of professional experience did you have like prior to applying to the program?
I work as a data analyst in the public health field. So
Right. So good. So again, we just like your data analysts, and so we have accountants, we have folks. I spoke to a gentleman who was in his 60s and he worked in banking for pretty much his career, and he wanted to switch over to become an accountant. And so yeah, so there's a large representation of folks from all over or what have you. And again, 10 years of work experience. So we do take a lot of pride in the fact that we have folks who have work experience in the program. And this is important in terms of networking, which I'll touch on later in the presentation. But I do wanted to point that out there. You can learn from each other. There's so much knowledge in our program from learners, right? So that's good to have, and it enriches the learning environment as well. And then lastly, here are just some data we received from alumni in terms of the program itself and what type of promotions the percentage of promotions received and pay increase or what have you. There's one stat on there where it talked about, I think it was 95% of our alumni highly likely were informed their family or their friends or colleagues about our program and saying how very, very highly likely they would do the program again or what have you. They had the opportunity, but it was just some really, really positive feedback from our students. And we do have an organization. It is a student-sponsored organization, and I'm not sure if there's any online. There may be, but I haven't heard of any other online program out there that has a sponsor. It's called the IGBA, which is the Illinois Grad Business Association. These are made up of current students in either our IMBA, IMSA, or IMSM program, and they are the ones who are kind of like the bridge between faculty, leadership, and students. And so if there are some areas of improvement or growth that we need for our online program, they are like the voice, for our students. Not to say that our students can't talk to faculty directly or what have you, but it's like a collective unit. And they also put on different events, and I'll touch a little bit later on in the presentation, but I think that just kind of adds to that satisfaction. So one thing I want to point out is the fact that this program, we try to create community within our program, right? We are adults, so it's really up to the individual student. If they really just want to, like, I'm focusing on my schoolwork and I really don't want to really engage with people too much, um, you can get a little bit of that. You're still gonna have to engage with folks in our program. But for those students who are like, I really want a community of learners, there's a ton of opportunity to get involved there. And so I think that's what kind of leads to that satisfaction rate. So um, I do want to touch on the curriculum and content. Um, when we started this program, our leadership, we have a really strong relationship with the top accounting firms. And so our leadership were able to connect with our top accounting firms and try to get some advice from them on what will make a really strong curriculum where our students, when they finish this curriculum, right, they're very marketable. They can immediately apply what they learn, in the classroom to their jobs, and will be highly, I'm not say sought after, but looked at once they complete our program. And so to me, that's to provide some assurance that our program is of high quality because we have, advised with these top accounting firms. And I think part of that is because of our reputation, right? And so there's a core curriculum, as you can see on the screen, where you touch on analysis 1 and 2, and so it's kind of covering managerial, auditing, and federal. So it's kind of like that core that you're going to cover in the core curriculum. But it also gives you that flexibility to have elective courses that you can choose from. And so, as you can see, these are a couple of those elective courses. And at least 4 credits need to be non-accounting courses. And so there's a list of courses that you can choose from. And so, again, I want to make sure you had that core curriculum under your belt, but also the opportunity to kind of be flexible in what you want to study. And so I just wanted to share that. Brandy, I know this is your first semester, you just completed your first semester. What courses did you take, and did you feel like you were able to apply what you learned in the classroom to your job?
Yeah, so far I've taken accounting analysis 1 and managerial accounting. I would say that in managerial accounting, we did a lot of like business analytics type of work. And so I've actually been able to apply that to my current position where I am a business analyst. And so that's been a payoff already. Just taking that class, like we worked on decision trees and other type of analytics models. And so I was able to use that directly in the current position I'm in now.
Okay. Oh, great, great. That's really, really, really good to hear. And so yeah, so this is, like I said, the general information about quickly though, I want to just touch base because I know around this time when people hear about the curriculum, they're like, okay, Marcus, will it say online on my diploma or what have you? What does this I even means? And so here's some information just to kind of cover some of those questions that we typically get asked about the I. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. how we actually develop our curriculum. And so it won't have online masters in accountancy. It will just have masters, in accountancy from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Our courses are created by our faculty and taught by our faculty as well. So we do not contract faculty from other institutions to teach our courses. And so that's one thing to keep in mind as well. And it's a diploma from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And we also have a graduation, an in-person graduation for our online students specifically. And so we love to see students on campus when they finish up their degree. So just wanted to share that little note. As I mentioned before, the online by design, there's two components. We had the asynchronous component and we had a high engagement component. Brandy, do you mind kind of just talking about what the asynchronous component entails and what entails in the high engagement component?
Sure. So just from experience through the two classes that I've taken already, actually I'm taking a third course this summer as well. The Coursera component is where most of the lectures are, like previously recorded lectures. So if you want to get like more in depth in the information that you're learning in the high engagement component, that's usually where I go to study for exams and things of that nature. The high engagement component is the actual course in Canvas, and we have lectures there as well, but they're usually like once a week. And so that's just an opportunity to talk with other students in the class through the email and whatever other ways of communication we have there, and do all of the actual assignments for the course.
For the live weekly like session, is it typically like 90-minute session and does the professor do like maybe a lecture and then do you all break out into like groups and work on projects or questions? How is that kind of set up?
Yeah, I mean, it could be that way. Some weeks, like I know at the end of the course, sometimes like they'll go over the exam questions. Yeah, we'll break out into they break out groups to go over like assignments we've done the previous week. Um, that's pretty much
Okay, pretty
the
much.
structure
How
of it.
how often do you, or I guess how much time, and it can vary, but based on individual students, like how much time do you feel like you had to dedicate on a weekly basis to making sure you stand up with the coursework?
So I usually take a couple days throughout the week, at least about 2 to 3 hours. So I say in total, maybe for me, 9 hours, 9 to 10 hours, which I think
Okay.
is like the standard that they say that you should put in per week for each.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And again, right. And so for like 10 hours is the average. And again, it's based on the individual. Like Brandy said, I put in like 9 or 10. Some people, depending on that particular course, they may put in like 10 to 15, if they feel like, okay, I really need to put a little bit more to grasp this content, or what have you. And so, and then there's faculty office hours. Have you utilized it or have you, if you have, how easy has that been?
I haven't utilized the office hours, and that might speak to how well the lectures lectures are. I do know I've had group members that have used it and said they loved it. And one of the professors actually would do a group office hour. So you can come in, and if other students had questions, you can listen to them ask questions, and then it might prompt you to ask a question during the session. So I thought that was super, super helpful to have that. So
And then with the asynchronous, from my understanding, the Coursera component, you have to complete that for like the completion part, right, of the class. Is that correct?
absolutely, yeah, it has to be completed. If you don't complete the Coursera component, you'll get an F.
So you heard it from Brandy. And so, because we want to make sure that, it's kind of like the textbook of the class, right? The Coursera platform. And, want to make sure that you're grasping the concept and so forth. And typically I hear that students are like, make sure you have that Coursera component, completed because you don't want to be in a live session and a question is asked about the material and you don't know the answer
I
or
will
what have
say,
you.
not to
Mhm.
interrupt, but I will say that the Coursera component, yes, is absolutely the textbook of the course. Like, especially for the managerial accounting course I took this past semester, we didn't have a textbook, so that was our go-to was the Coursera. So you're gonna have to use it anyway. I mean, so there's no way you can fail it, and just unless you're just not doing the quizzes. But
Hmm. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Okay. Thank you for sharing that information. And then here's just some slides of I'm not gonna do the video, but slides of some of our professors to kind of give you an idea of what happens online, and the top center screen, the young lady with the glasses, she's kind of in the background helping out. So there's two lady professors that are teaching, but she's making sure that everything is running smoothly. And so we love to show this because it just shows that there's so much support to make sure that the lectures or the online live sessions are going smooth, and the technology is up to par there. And so just real quick too, Brandy. So for your classes, did you what were like the exams like? Did you have exams, or was it more group projects? And how was all that?
For both of the courses, and even the course I'm taking now, there's a mixture of assignments. So we have group assignments, at least two. In all of the classes I've taken, I've had at least two group assignments in each of those courses. And I have final exams in all of those courses. During the live lecture, sometimes they'll go over the exam with us. What was the other question? You asked something else about the exam.
I think, like, did you have exams, and like, I guess, what was a format? Was it like multiple choice? Was it essay combination? What
Yeah,
was the
the
format?
finals exams are usually like combinations. So they want to test that the concept. So there a lot of times they would be fill in the blank or like a short answer and things of that nature.
Okay, so just give you all this kind of like a taste of, and that's just one class, right? These classes can vary, but generally speaking, just kind of give you an idea of what exams and assignments consist of. So we touched, on like Wikis, kind of a little bit of overview of the iMSA program from a content curriculum standpoint. We touched a little bit on like the live lectures, assignments, things of that nature. Um, but also a really huge component of our online programs, all of our degree and certificate programs, it's just the networking opportunities that are available. Um, we really put a lot of emphasis on the networking part. And again, it kind of ties into the 10 years work experience slide that I showed earlier. Again, we have so many people in our program that are working professionals. Some folks will stay in their jobs, some folks will get promoted, some people will leave to another organization. Um, I think across the board, from what I've heard, people are able to apply what they learn in the classroom. Brandy has testified to that. But the networking piece, I think, is significant, especially in this day and age. And again, it goes back to trying to create this community within our online program. So we do have two different ways that we lead these opportunities. Number one is through Gies. And so, for example, the iConnect, we have Emergence, iConversion. We'll touch on all three of these. And then there's student-led opportunities as well. I did touch on the IGBA earlier, but there's also student-led opportunities. And so, before I get started, Brandy, I know you just started the program, so you may have had opportunity to. Have you been able to make any connections through any networking events or what have you?
I haven't had a chance to go to iConverge or the in immersion, but I do plan on registering for the iConverge. I think coming up this fall, so I'm
Hmm.
very excited about that. But one of the platforms that you just showed, Workplace, is a great platform just to get to know others who are maybe in other online programs, and so I use that a lot just to get to know what other people are doing and network with folks.
And the cool thing about our program is we try to go out to different locations. So, for example, this is a Seattle immersion. So these immersion events, opportunities actually are actually, classroom, right, based. And so it's like 35 to 40 students in a class, and they may travel to a particular location, whether it's domestically or internationally. And so this on the screen, this is a picture of our Seattle immersion group. So it's an actual course, right? And so you are working on like maybe live projects for companies in that area. And in this case particular, I know they were working with the new NHL expansion team in Seattle, and I think it was helping them create some type of marketing proposal or what have you, to market the team to, I guess, either locally, nationally, internationally. And so at the end, there was a case competition and they had to, submit their proposals, I guess, in front of leadership or what have you. And so again, it's a great way to apply, what you're learning in the classroom, right? Put it to use, right? In these case studies. But then also it was time for to immerse themselves in the Seattle culture. Obviously, there's a picture of them in front of I think the first Starbucks or what have you. So these are really enriching opportunities for our students. So not only just being able to apply the content, but to explore the area but also to network, right, with others, in the three different programs. And so we offer these emerging opportunities several times a year. I know here we just I didn't go, but some of my colleagues were in Malaysia and Singapore for an immersion, and they're doing one in South Africa in the end of July. I was in Houston when they were doing the immersion event. They've had immersions in several other cities throughout the U.S. And but these are additional costs to the program. It can be a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 depending on the location and like the duration of time or what have you. But again, if you're not paying 90,000, 100,000 for your program, right? You have that additional funding that you could use to enhance, your learning experience through these immersion events. And again, it's to meet people in person, right? And so that's one way. Brandy mentioned iConverge, which will be coming up in August of this year. It's an awesome event. And so this event is held on our campus in Champaign, Urbana, which is in central Illinois, surrounded by a lot of corn. But the event is really exciting. Last year we had over 500 learners attend from so many different locations. It's like a 3-day professional development event. And so you get a chance to see your professors, like the leadership in person, see each other in person. The picture in the middle of the screen, they're touring the studio. There's the picture. So it's just a fun time for our students. Obviously, they're learning as well. And I think this year theme is revolving around leadership. And so a lot of the sessions were evolved around leadership. Last year, I think it was like career and retooling your career, what have you. So a lot of sessions were career focused. And so every year there's a theme. So that's one way that we try to, again, build that community, is bringing our students together to converge on campus. And that's once a year. I think the cost is, I think it's only like $100, somewhere around there, to register. So it's pretty inexpensive to attend. And then Brandy mentioned workplace. And Brandy, when you started, did you go in and introduce yourself on workplace?
I did. And so I was happy to see all the welcomes, and people are super friendly in workplace. Um, it's a good place just to find out what other people are into, get suggestions on companies to go apply for and internships. So I really like it.
You hit it. Yeah, the networking piece of it is big as well. Where, like I said, and this is for all of our online students. So, if you're I'm getting my iMSA, and we have folks in all three programs that have something to do with hiring, or being a decision maker within HR or what have you. And so, so that's always a great way. And I always encourage students, start the program, definitely get on workplace and start making those connections there as well. Then we also have like these student meetups. And so these are meetups that are organized by our students. We have highly engaged students in our program. Like I said, and these are student meetups. Now we also have what we call iConnects. So Gies puts on, we pay for everything for these iConnects. And again, I was in Chicago last night for a Chicago iConnect. I think we had about 60 something students show up for the iConnect. And in fact, the young lady by the Chicago student meetup with the red hat on, she's organizing a Illini Day at a Chicago Cubs game, right? And so we had those type of students who know they love the flexibility online program because they're working professionals, but they also had the desire to create community, or to connect with folks in person. And so these meetups happen, and it varies based on the city, right? And like we may have larger numbers, maybe in Chicago and LA, compared to, maybe Amarillo, Texas, right? And so it really depends on where you at. But our faculty also try to get out as well, to meet with students. So we have some faculty that will fly different places, and they will let our online team know, like, hey, I'm in Greece, or I'm in Tokyo, or I'm somewhere. I have time to meet up with students. And so we'll set it up, not myself, but our team will set it up to make sure that the word is out. And so it may be only two students in that area, but if a faculty member or a staff member like myself, like I was in New Orleans, like we all always reach out to students to say, hey, we're in the area. If you wanted to just have coffee, or if you wanted to just, informally meet up somewhere, we'd be happy to connect. So we try from a faculty staff standpoint, really make that connection there. And then so that also adds to the student academic success team that we have in place. And so again, you have your faculty, you have your peers, that will kind of be that support system, but we also have, academic success team that is there to provide additional support as well. So if you, have questions about degree requirements, policies, if you need to take an 8 weeks off, how will this affect your planning to finish up? That's where this team comes into play. And so it's dedicated just solely for online students. You can email them, you can have a quick 15-minute conversation, or you can set up a one-on-one appointment, right? But in addition to this, from the feedback from our students, we actually now have a foundations course. It's a 0 credit course, but it's a really, really great course for students to take at the beginning of their term, when they start, and it's really just helping with kind of like the basics of, like, okay, how do I get things set up in Coursera? How do I, reach out to student academic success team? So it's a lot of like kind of tips and tricks throughout the program in this foundations class. So for those of you who do decide to apply and you get admitted and you're going to come to, Illinois, virtually, I highly advise to enroll in that foundations course, especially if you've been out of school for a long period of time. And I think it really will help kind of set you up for success, throughout the program. And so, Brandy, I know you just, like I said, being fairly new in the program, have you taken advantage of the student academic success team?
I have not yet.
Okay, no problem at all. But yeah, it's there in place, for students and eventually if you end up needing it. So one more, second to last poll question. What part of the application looks time consuming or most difficult for you? And so I will kind of touch on, all this in the last session of the presentation. And so typically I would say the personal statement, we tend to get a lot of students who feel that it's going to be challenging. But for the sake of time, I'm going to move on, to the application requirements. So when you apply, for this particular program, we do want a resume. And so, in the resume, the content can vary based on if you are, 2 years within working in your career, to maybe you're 20 years within your career. Really, we're just looking for, maybe 2 pages, 3 pages max. We don't really need a 15, 20 page resume or what have you. And really want to make sure that your resume is lining up with what you put on your application in terms of your work history. And obviously, kind of like the most recent work history on there. We also need all transcripts and our mark sheets. And so, if you graduate from an institution, an international institution, make sure those mark sheets are in English. So it makes it easier for our evaluators to evaluate, those mark sheets. And then there's an academic statement plus a short answer personal statements. And this is, through our grad college. And so obviously this is here just to see, just to check on your writing, the quality of your writing, how are you answering these questions. And like Brandy mentioned, there's short answers, essays, right, in your classes. And so this is kind of like just to kind of see, how you're writing, how the quality of your writing, and how you're gonna be able to apply that in the classroom. There's two recommendations that we require for the program. And so basically in the application, all you need to do is submit the name and the email address of two recommenders. And we will just send that information, that form to them, and they will fill it out and send it back to us. There is the option for the recommender to write a recommendation letter. It's not required, but if they feel highly of you as a person and as a prospective student of the program, it doesn't hurt to get that letter of recommendation sent as well. Also, for international applicants only, there are requirements for exams. There could be a waiver through an essay, or there's some exemptions that will exempt you from the exam. There's a lot of information. There's too much to kind of share through this webinar, but maybe towards the end, and I can include, or Susan, if you're able to find a link to that page, we can include a link to that page, and it outlines all the exemptions there. There's no GRE or GMAT required, right? And so I know when I say that, sometimes I'm sure I'm getting smiles, even though I can't see your faces, that that's not required. And then there's a scholarship essay as well. And so with the scholarship essay, it really depends on when you apply. But the scholarship essay, when you go to the application, if it's there, then you need to fill out the scholarship essay and submit it at the same time you submit your application. Okay. It's pretty straightforward with this or the application requirements. All this information is on the website as well. And we have folks like Susan. If you do have questions thank you, Susan, for adding the link. I appreciate it. And so are very knowledgeable and can assist and answer questions about the application requirements. And then lastly, for this particular program, there are some prereq courses that are required. Okay. And so there's the business management and principles of accounting. So when you apply, you see on the application the prerequisite sheet, and you have to have those two courses completed to be admitted directly into the program. If not, we have a performance-based admission track. And so this allows our students to complete 3 courses, specific accounting courses, and the students earn a B or higher in your courses and have a 3.0 GPA. Then those courses will still apply to the iMSA program, and then you would be admitted automatically directly into the program. So the admission committee sometimes will make a recommendation for a student to start off in the performance-based admission track, and which we feel like I really like this, because as opposed to being accept, deny, there's also this performance-based provides an opportunity for someone to say, hey, you know what, I didn't meet the minimum, the requirements for admission, but taking these courses gives me that opportunity, another pathway into the program. And I think that's where that kind of accessibility can kind of come into play here as well. So there's a lot of information I did share about the requirements. And then within the review process, we have a great team, again, that makes sure that all the information in your application is completed. Once all information is completed, you will receive an invite to interview with one of the staff members, like myself. And so it's about a 15 to 20-minute interview. Really, we just want to see how you engage virtually, right? I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. It's just to meet people from all over the world and just to try to see their interests and so forth. And so I enjoy it too, because I'm asking the questions. I know I'm not answering the questions. And so, but Brandy, do you remember your interview, and how was it?
I think for my interview, I didn't actually meet with anyone. I had to submit a video interview. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet with anyone one-on-one, but there were some questions I had to answer and submit a video interview.
Yes, and thank you for that point. Actually, I've been out of the interviews for a while, and so now with the iMSA is for the MBA and MSM program, the interviews are in person. I mean, are virtual, but now we've transitioned with the iMSA interview process where you will submit like a video, like 2 to 3 minute. You answer like two or three questions, and you have like 3 minutes or what have you, and then you submit that. But we are always open. Like if you felt like, okay, Marcus, I need to have a meeting with you. I need to talk, kind of through some things or what have you, before I apply. That's always available. And I met with two when I was in Chicago yesterday. I met with two prospective students in person, just about the application process. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the application review, the requirements. June 6th, which I think is tomorrow, is the last day to apply without an application fee. And these are some of the other benefits that you'll receive if you do apply by June 6th. Now, the final application deadline is June 27th, so you have plenty of time to apply, but there will be an application fee, things of that nature. So if you are interested, I would say go ahead and apply by June 6th, so you have to pay the application fee. And then lastly, I mean, why Gies? Obviously, the quality that we mentioned earlier, the community, the network, all these that are listed on this on this slide. I truly believe in just working here. I think it's a great program, it's a great institution. And then, like I say, if you have questions, just let us know. Here's our contact information. There's a QR code. So there's several ways you can get in contact with us. And so we are thankful that you all were able to join us today. I'm going to stop sharing. And so I think we have any questions, Susan, anything that stood out that I didn't address? Looking at the Q&A.
Someone did just ask what the application fee is after tomorrow.
I think it's
which-
$80. It's $80, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought domestic was 70 and international was 90. Did that change?
Oh, I must have did the average. No, you're right. 70 and 90. So I was in between. Yes. So 70 and 90. So yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Susan. Thank you all for being here today. I hope you were able to learn a lot more about the iMSA program. And again, reach out if you do have questions. But take care, everyone.